order of business is a pledge of allegiance to the flag and a moment of silence for those who are victims of gun violence in that city. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, I have a note here to have a roll call, but I think that's getting old now because everybody, look at this great personal attendance. So I just will note that I think since I can't, the only role I'm going to call it for the people virtually. Jerry, are you on? Jerry, go on. Allie Doyle?
Yep, I'm here. I'm here.
And Jen Liptak?
Yeah, present.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, that's the only board I'm going to call. All right. Oh, Nick, I'm sorry. I forgot Nick. Oh, there's Jerry. Jerry's here. Okay, see Jerry. Nick.
Sorry, I was a minute late. Good morning.
Nick.
Stop the phone.
Okay, well, you can yell whenever you get on. Okay, with that, we'll move for approval of the minutes of the prior meeting of February 24th. Is there any questions or comments, changes, additions with respect to those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they're approved. Then with that, we'll move on to the report of our chief executive, Kevin Coleman.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. May I please have a moment of silence for the active and retired PRT employees who passed away since we have last met. Operators Leslie Rainey and Alexander Harilla, body repair person Joseph Larden, material delivery person William Morrison, transit information supervisor Jean Lake, machinist Norbert Bauer, operations manager Pasquale Benare, and route foreman Lamar Rogers. Thank you. Today, the board will consider the Phase 1 construction contract for the downtown Uptown Oakland Bus Rapid Transit Project. This includes 5th, Liberty, and 6th Avenues in downtown Pittsburgh that we refer to as the downtown loop. Long before I came into Pittsburgh, planners and engineers had spent years, nearly a decade in fact, working to find a solution to improve transit service between downtown and Oakland, the second and third largest economic centers in Pennsylvania outside of Central City, Philadelphia. And I'm happy to report that this contract gets those years of hard work one step closer to making this reality. This contract is a milestone. Soon, we anticipate executing federal funding agreement with the FTA, and we anticipate construction starting in the fall. Watch out. The downtown Uptown Oakland BRT will improve operational efficiency, reduce travel times, and upgrade amenities and infrastructure. Our hope is that the upgrades and service improvements not only improve transit reliability and speed, but improve safety for everyone, pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers, and be a catalyst for investment, spurring development in a corridor that has so much promise. But BRT will not only impact service in the corridor it directly serves. Its benefits will reverberate across our network. In downtown Pittsburgh, where 84 bus routes travel more than 25 different loops to get in and out of downtown, we've already begun public outreach to improve and hopefully simplify our system to reduce walking, improve connectivity, and align routes that use the same corridors. I make this joke a lot. I love waving at buses. Waving at 8 in a row it's a bit of work. Downtown, of course, presents several challenges. It's dense, it's confined, it's not a perfect grid, shaped like this. Traffic is slow, streets are narrow, buses can't make every single turn. And we can't make it so every bus can make every single stop and prevent them from getting caught up in traffic. And in some cases, getting a bus in and out of downtown as quickly as possible can be the best option. So like most decisions we make, there will be compromises as we go through this. We're mindful of these trade-offs, and we're taking a close look at what this will mean for our riders. We expect to present a proposal to the public for review in May. This is important work that will impact a large majority of our riders. Now, BRT will also create operational efficiencies to help us save nearly 500 hours of service every week. That's 100 hours on average during a weekday. We'll redeploy these resources throughout the system to help bolster service reliability. Speaking of service reliability, it was great to see Local 85 President Ross Nicotero, and he's right here with us this morning, joining us in our call to action for our need to hire more operators. As we know, over the last 2 years, it's been really rough in our industry, not just here, but nationwide, to hire up. So one point we wanted to talk about, there's a budgeted number we have, and you'll see this everywhere. It's 1,200 operators in the budget. That means we can go up to 1,200 and not have to ask for more positions. Doesn't mean they're all funded, and that includes operational and non-operational drivers. Now, what does that mean? Folks who are driving every single day, folks who have assigned routes or on the extra board, and we have about 1,050, 1,060 of those folks. They're in this 1,200 number. Our student operators also live in the budget in this number. The 28 students that we're graduating next Friday, hallelujah and thank you, HR, amazing work. They're in this 1,200, but they're not in the 1,050 that we're using to provide service every day. The 24 students that we currently have offers to, again, thank you so much, HR. In April, they also reside in this 1,200. That's almost 50 people that are in our budget, but they're not factored into our service. Now we add into that anyone who is working with us, but they're not driving every day. So our friends who are on union duty full-time live in our budget here. Anyone who is on military duty is in our budget here. Someone on long-term leave, any kind of leave of absence, workers' comp, or anyone who is employed or on the books at PRT as an operator but not actively driving, they also sit in here. It would be irresponsible of us to put a number in the budget that only covered the active drivers and not be able to take care of all the folks who are here who might not be in active service, who are training, who might be planned to retire at some point in the year. So when we talk about the numbers we're looking for, let's look at our out of service numbers. In this quarter, we have averaged well under 50 hours a day of out of service. We are on the road 4,400 hours a day. 4,400 hours are actually on the road. Now, that's not all revenue service, but being less than 50 hours, someone with a calculator can do the math, but that's less than 0.00 some odd level of percent. Now, you don't care. If your bus is one of the 20 hours that was out of service one day this week, that still impacts you. But in an industry that back last October, Transit Center said 5% out of service was good control, I will take that 0.00% as a sign that our team is uniquely qualified to tackle the challenges with our partners at Local 85 to get ahead of what's been a national trend and make it less impactful for Pittsburgh than almost anywhere else in the nation. In this last year alone, we've worked to raise our training rate from $15 to $19 an hour. I hope I'm speaking for our friends when I say I think this was a great contract, negotiated with a focus on benefits to make people want to stay here. Our starting rate is one of the highest in the country. Folks get to top rate within 4 years, which is extremely competitive. We offer a bonus to folks who come in with a CDL. They can make it through class sooner. And we're about to cut checks to $5.2 million for what we call heroes pay. So it's tied to our folks in our bargaining units for all the work that they put in during the COVID pandemic. We've done all this on the back end of this major pandemic that continues to impact ridership while still putting out service, maintaining the fleet, rebranding, releasing a long-range plan. I'm tired just making this list, finalizing the BRT, and initiating several planning projects throughout the transit in our region. So minimizing the important work that we have all done together is not the solution. So if this is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, if the Titanic had these chairs, she'd still be afloat. Mr. Letwin, unless there's any questions, these conclude my remarks.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Catherine. With that, we'll move on to the report of the Performance and Oversight Committee from its Chair, Michelle Zimanic.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. The Performance Oversight Committee met last week, and I have 3 resolutions for your consideration. The committee first reviewed 3 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with the PRT's procurement policies and procedures. The price is fair and reasonable, the bidders to be responsible, and the bids responsive. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of $17,466,682. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll take that a second too. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second resolution is to award a construction contract for the first phase of the downtown uptown Oakland Bus Rapid Transit Project. The first phase will comprise of constructing transit-only lanes along 5th, Liberty, and 6th Avenues in downtown Pittsburgh, including 5 new transit stations, pedestrian improvements, and traffic signal modifications. To perform the work for the contract, the bid documents were prepared and publicly advertised, and 1 bid was received from Independence Excavating Incorporated. It was noted at the meeting that pursuant to PRT's applicable procurement policies, a post-single bid survey was performed, which confirmed that the bid was received was fair and reasonable based upon the costs of similar services. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends that the contract be awarded to Independence Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $27,893,876, subject to completing all pre-award requirements. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
The final resolution I have is to authorize PRT to award construction contracts for the underground storage tank drainage and slab replacement project. The tanks will be replaced at 8 locations, including the East Liberty, Collier, Ross, Harmer, and West Mifflin garages, South Hills Village, South Hills Junction, and the Manchester main shop. To perform the work for the contract, bid documents were prepared and publicly advertised. 2 bids were received for the general construction contract, 2 bids were received for the plumbing construction contract, and 1 bid was received for the electrical contract. It was determined that the bid of Michael Fasciano Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $3,689,900 is the lowest responsive bid for the general construction contract. Norelco Corporation in the amount of $5,383,615 is the lowest responsible bid for the plumbing contract, and the bid of Westmoreland Electric Services LLC in the amount of $494,250 is the lowest responsible bid for the electrical contract. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends awarding the aforementioned contractors subject to completing the pre-award requirements. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the report of Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee from Chair John Keg.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, and fellow riders. The Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee met last week. I have a few items for the board. First, Chief Development Officer David Huffaker presented the summary of the public comment period for the BRT project proposed service changes for 2023 to 2025. The public comment period was held between December 2022 and February 2023 by the board to proceed in November. During that time, public comment was solicited through several avenues, including public hearings, online, by phone, and by mail, among others. A majority of the comments received are favorable to the proposed changes, with about 1,800 comments in favor and 1,600 opposed. A majority of the comments were favorable. A large number of negative comments were received regarding potential changes on the C3 route. Proposed changes include extending service downtown via the BRT corridor while stopping the routes in Wilkinsburg rather than in Splitsville. Staff recommends that the changes to the B3 route be deferred until further analysis and outreach can be conducted. PRT staff is recommending that the board approve 4 major service changes, including the 61D, 71A, 71C, and 71D routes. The inbound 61D route will serve the 5th Avenue at Chesterfield Road bus stop. Turn left on Craft in Oakland, turn left again on Forbes Avenue in Oakland, and then begin its outbound routing at the Forbes Avenue at Craft Farside bus stop. The inbound 71A, 71C, and 71D routes will serve the 5th Avenue at Chesterfield Road bus stop, then turn left on Craft Avenue in Oakland, turn left again on Forbes in Oakland, then begin their outbound routing at Forbes Avenue at Craft Avenue with a Farside bus stop. They will serve Forbes Avenue bus stops in Oakland before turning left on Belfield and then right on to Fifth Avenue to continue their normal outbound routes beginning at the Fifth Avenue at Belfield Avenue intersection. If approved by the board, these changes will not occur until at least the fall of 2023. Service changes in October and would help facilitate the BRT construction and preview improvements of the project. Construction is expected to begin in the downtown portion of the project the spring of 2023. Construction of the uptown Oakland corridor is expected to begin in spring of 2024. The second, I have a resolution regarding the authorization to approve the PRT major service changes and the associated Title VI report. The resolution would adopt the PRT staff proposal for the major service changes for the 61D, 71A, 71C, and 71D routes. As I just summarized, the more fully summarized in Exhibit A, the resolution in the meeting packets and adopt Title VI report concerning those service changes. Pursuant to the applicant FTA regulations, PRT is required to conduct an analysis prior to implementing any major service changes to determine whether any such service changes would have the desperate impact on the PRT's ridership based on race, color, or national origin, and if so, the means by which to mitigate such impact. PRT is also required to conduct an analysis prior to implementing any major service changes to determine whether any such major service changes would disproportionately burden low-income populations, and if so, means by which to mitigate such impact. PRT conducted the foregoing analysis, held public hearings, and formulated a Title VI report, conclusions of which were presented to the committee and detailed in Exhibit B to the resolution in your meeting packets. The committee recommends that the board approve the BRT project major service changes and adopt the Title VI report. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request approval of the resolution.
That was a mouthful, huh? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, great, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, motion carries.
Third item, Allegheny County Transit Council. The Allegheny County Council met on March 22nd. Darcy Cleaver, Section Manager of Transit Amenities, provided the council with an overview of the PRT park and rides. Ellie Newman, the Section Manager of Service Development, presented an update on the next transit downtown project. The next scheduled meeting of the ACTC is on April 26th. Fourth and final, the Committee for Accessible Transportation did not meet in March. Their next scheduled meeting is on May 4th. Unless there are any questions, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay, thanks, John. That we'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee from Chair Ann O'Gorr.
Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met last week and I have one resolution to present. The resolution will authorize the amendment of the FY 2023 operating and capital budgets. PRT is required to pass a balanced fiscal year operating and capital budget pursuant to the Second Class County Port Authority Act. The board passed a resolution on June 24th, 2022 that adopted balanced operating and capital budgets beginning July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Since adoption of the operating budget, PRT has ratified a 4-year contract with ATU Local 85, representing operators, first-level supervisors, and claims and maintenance personnel. This agreement, along with adjustments in other miscellaneous expense categories, will increase PRT's anticipated operating expenses in certain categories above the original FY 2023 operating budget. The additional expense will be offset by the use of additional American Rescue Plan Act funding. The resolution will increase the FY 2023 total operating budget from $518,974,705 to $525,779,342 as contained in Exhibit A. Since the adoption of the original FY 2023 capital budget, PRT has been notified it will be receiving additional federal funding for the downtown uptown Oakland bus rapid transit project. This additional federal funding will permit previously budgeted Commonwealth funding to be repurposed toward additional capital projects. The amended capital budget is detailed in Exhibit B to the resolution and increases the budget from $232,865,463 to $282,915,462. This resolution would authorize PRT's adoption of the amended FY 2023 operating and capital budgets. My fellow members, I request approval of this resolution.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
The February financial results were also presented at last week's meeting. It was reported that total operating income for the month exceeded budget by $892,439 due to higher passenger revenue and interest income. Passenger revenues were higher due to ticket sales, monthly pass sales, and new pass sales exceeding budget for the month. For the fiscal year, total operating income is $1.5 million below budget due to lower passenger revenue and access shared ride revenue, which is partially offset by higher interest income. February total expenses were below budget for the month by $3.9 million. The category of other expense exceeded budget due to higher general insurance and building lease expense. All other expense categories were below budget for the month. Total expenses for the fiscal year are $34 million below budget, primarily due to lower salary and wages and employee benefits related to vacant positions, as well as lower purchase services. Total subsidy for the month of February was $618,774, below budget due to lower vehicle overhaul receipts and lower state operating assistance for access. Total subsidy through February is $4.2 million below budget due to lower ARPA invoicing. The ARPA invoice of $10.4 million was submitted in March, which should bring total subsidy in line with the budget. Finally, it was reported that PRT ended the month of February with approximately $169.2 million in cash reserves. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Are there any questions? Okay, thanks, Ann. That will move on to the Report of Technology Committee. Lori Gorski will sit in for and look back and make the report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow board members. The Technology Committee met on March 16th, and I have one resolution for your consideration today. The committee reviewed a bid for purchase of Oracle e-performance and e-compensation modules for use within the agency's HR department. This purchase will be made under the terms and conditions of the 2023 PA Educational Purchasing Program for Microcomputers, also known as PEPPM, contract. The committee determined the bid to be in accordance with PRT's procurement policies and procedures, and the price is fair and reasonable. The Technology Committee recommends the award of this contract to Mythics Incorporated in the amount of $271,572. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution. Unless there are questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
I have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries, and I know your report's over. Okay, is there any new business? Okay, then with that, we'll move on to the public comment. Our first speaker is Ralph Williams. I saw Ralph on the TV earlier. Ralph, are you still there?
I'm here, Lou, and thank you.
Go ahead.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here once again this morning. I want to ask everyone a question. Have you ever had a scratched record or a scratched up CD and the music, and it goes, da, 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 da. You're probably wondering why every time I come here every month to speak, that I speak on the same topic. And I know to you, it might sound like a busted record, but not to people who have put their lives and their dedication into the company of PRT. And I'm speaking about the COVID drivers that are still off, that you have not hired back. Please, folks, we need the experience out there driving. Please bring these drivers back. I come here every month to speak the same thing. And I know what you're saying. Ralph, it's a busted record. That's what you sound like. But I have to continue to come back to remind you that we need to have these experienced drivers back. Please, I would love to see you have these experienced drivers that put their heart and soul into this company. You know, you talk about moving people, but you also talk about that you had to cut times out of routes because you don't have drivers to fill them. Why not get these drivers in here? Let bygones be bygones about what happened with COVID, and let's get this done, and let's start moving people like we say we want to move. Thank you. Have a great morning.
Thank you, Ralph. With that, we'll move on to Betty Alexander.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Betty. I'm a transit rider, have been for 40 years. I'm a senior citizen. I live in Stanton Heights. I ride the 87S inbound and outbound. I ride a lot of transits and I've seen them all operating. Before the schedule change, we had a bus that took us down to a connection on Negley Avenue. He picked us up at 7:08, always made it, always on time. After the schedule change, 2 weeks went by. Different drivers, not one of them was on time. The time we got down to Negley and Stanton, all the connections were gone. So you had to wait another 20, 30 minutes to get another bus. If you stayed on our 87S, it would take you down a little closer to your destination. Some people going to work. Our bus was always busy. It had students to pick up. It had seniors to pick up. It had handicapped to pick up. It was always, you can't say that wasn't enough riders for it because it was. Today, instantly making your statement that we're here to help make your ride easier. False statement. This morning, I'm waiting for an 82 inbound to Pittsburgh due at Kirkpatrick and Center at 8:28. Never came, never came. When it did come, it was like 10 minutes to 9. My most tremendous, most aggravating experience when I was coming from Waterworks. It was like on the 22nd, not long after we had changed our schedule. Took the 91 Butler, which I take to go down to the Shop and Save turnaround to get my 87S inbound to Pittsburgh, which will just take about 5 blocks to get to Stanton Avenue, turn left and take me on home. I waited an hour. The person that was with me called the customer service. Oh, we can't track him down. We have a tracker, but we can't track the bus down. Really? Waited another. If you miss the bus 1 hour, you have to make another hour. These are senior citizens. I am. And I got to stand there and wait another hour. And then if that bus doesn't come, you have to make another hour. I'm watching the 91As run by every 15 minutes. So finally, me and the customer got on a 91 to take me into town to bring me all the way back to Stanton Heights because that 87S never came. We have one bus that takes us all the way to Stanton Heights, down to Butler, down to the Shop and Save the turnaround station. I watched buses that day come in there, and I'm like, a 67, I've never seen it come to this district. I said, well, maybe he just didn't change his schedule. I seen the 74, or change his sign. I seen the 74. I said, maybe he didn't, but it wasn't them because they all turned right, went back to Morningside. I stand there on the corner. We don't have a place to sit from West Penn Hospital all the way down to Butler Street. This is on the outbound. So if it's cold, it's rainy, it's snowing, we're senior citizens standing in the cold rain with nowhere to sit. There's no sit down station. There is none from West Penn Hospital all the way down to Butler Street. So I stood for 2.5 hours to get a bus to take me back home. And then it's not easier. It has not been easier. And it's still happening. And like I gave you the one this morning, it's still happening. You don't catch your buses on time. They don't, I don't know what is the problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, that was our last speaker. Our next regular meeting is Friday, April 28th, 2023. Happy Easter to everybody. Happy Passover. And we'll see you after that.
Thank you.